designer to design all the engines and works. Now finally, when the engines was ready and they screwed in the very last part, your man says, let's see how she runs, lads. But Jesus, the thing wouldn't start. So they worked and they fiddled and they footered, and the engineers' faces got all red. The designer, well, he stood looking stupid, scratching the back of his head. Then up down there's out Jimmy Dazzell. He had spent 20 years in the shipyards, 10 in the aircraft as well. Now Jimmy pushes and he fiddles and he footers till he gets himself through to the front. He stood there looking at the engine and gave a few mutters and grunts. He says to the gaffer, Mr. Smith, do you know, they've left out the diagonal steam trap. How the hell do you think it could go? Well, the engineer, he eyed the designer. The designer, he took off his hat. And they both whispered each other, diagonal steam trap? What the fuck's that? Meanwhile, Jimmy had Scarborough, right down to throw in his beard, you know. And the boss comes down and says, Jim, do you mind if I have a wee word like, we left out the diagonal steam trap, it's bad luck. But the engine shop's terrible busy, you know. You think you can nap us one up? Hey, Jimmy started laughing his scorn off like, he made it all up for a gig. Because he seen what was stopping the engine. The feed pipe was blocked with a rag. So he shoves out hands in the pockets, he says, aye, sure, I'll give us a hand. I'll knock this one up in the morning, sure. The whole bloody thing will be going on. Think time. Next morning, Jim comes in and starts working on this thing called the diagonal steam trap. Just an old box, a few bits of tubing, a nice steam gauge stuck up on the top. But he welds it all on till the engine. He turns around and says to the wondering mob, I'll tell you something, he says. As long as that gauge is at zero, the steam trap's doing its job. He pulls out right out of the feed pipe, gets the engine to try. Jesus, she goes like the clappers. Hey, Jimmy says to them all, that's her now. Well, the ship was the fastest thing ever. He sent her away to the Turks. But they says to him, now listen, I'll tell you something. That steam trap's a big secret. Because we're the only ones knows how that works. But the Turks, they just couldn't keep their mouths shut. Soon the whole story got round. The Russians were very interested. Them boys had their ears to the ground. So they sent a spy, dressed up as a sailor, to take photos of Jimmy's steam trap. I got them all back to the Kremlin, they all sat down to look at the snaps. And the head spy says to Mr. Kosygin, he says, I'm just damned if I see how all this works, like. And they sent them off to Siberia. And they bought the whole ship from the Turks. But the Russians couldn't admit they'd been had. So they built a big factory in Moscow. Started knocking out these steam traps like mad. Then Kosygin, he rings up Mr. Nixon, says, hey, not in the Belfast accent of course, he says, hey, you all think yous are great, but you'd find with our new Russian made steam traps. We's have yous Yankees all mate. Look at Nixon, he really went harpic. So he thought he'd give Hardins a call. But he dialed the engine shop number. Of course he could sweet bugger all. Finally a call came through to Jimmy, in the midst of a terrible hush. Jimmy, there's a call here from the White House. Says, hey Jim, that's a fucking shop in Port Rush. There's a factory outside of Seattle, and it's turning out steam traps like hell. It employs 25,000 workers. You know the head of it all is? A How Jimmy does well.